Month's speaker, John Morris. John was born and has always lived in Lexington, growing up in an independent Christian church. I'd be interested in knowing which one. He is a graduate of Bryan Station High School and the University of Kentucky with a degree in horticulture. He started his career working in the floral industry, and in 1986, with two partners, opened Decoratifs at the corner of Kentucky Avenue and High Street, which was there 27 years. Now he is working for a marketing firm and a retail shop doing graphic work and decorative hand painting. John joined Central in 2017, and ever since then, you're apt to see him around here doing just about anything. Always willing to pitch in. He helped fix the breakfast this morning. So it's my pleasure to introduce John Morris.
Thank you, Tim. And thank you, David, for inviting me to participate in this.
I won't heckle, John.
Please, no heckling.
I won't heckle. Close to your face, so. Just a little bit.
A little bit. Sorry. What can I help? It's funny you talk about doing things. I'll give a little more background before I answer the questions that were put forth.
I don't think I need to go down.
And,
Let's see it.
okay.
Difficulty. If I'd been over like that, I'd hear about 5 or 6 cracks.
Be pulled back up.
My mother was from Eastern Kentucky. My father grew up in Georgetown. They met St. Elizabeth's Hospital in Covington. My mother was a nurse there, and my dad sold medical supplies. And they married in 1949. I was born in 1956. My mother had two bad experiences before I was born, so it's kind of a big deal when it finally happened. And then I ended up having a brother after that. He was born in 1960. I was 4'4", 56", and he was 6'6", 60. But anyway, when I was born, we lived in Georgetown, then we moved to Lexington. We lived over on Holly Springs Drive, so the church was Gardenside Christian. We lived right down the street. And my mother was involved in everything. She ran the Vacation Bible School, she ran the kitchen, we cooked the camp, we did everything. So she had to be there, we had to be there. She was also a registered nurse, so she was no nonsense. You know, if you don't feel good, throw up, you'll feel better, we gotta go. But she was great, I adored her. My dad was very quiet, my mother was not. We had a great childhood. I mean, they adored each other, and everybody knew that. But anyway, we then moved to the north end of town, and so we lived out there where everybody in the neighborhood worked at IBM. So it was interesting. It was a complete switch from where we had been. And so I went to Mary Todd and Bryan Station and all that different stuff. School was okay for me at first. I mean, I was always interested in crazy stuff and not what boys were supposed to be interested in. I think my parents didn't really kind of know what to do with me sometimes. While my friends had posters of race cars and rock bands on their walls, I had my mother take me to Pier 1 and we bought travel posters, because that's what I'd seen in one of her magazines. But anyway, I love to create, I love to do things. My dad was really good at that. So he really fed that. We would do things like, for social studies projects, build the Parthenon, we built the Taj Mahal. I still have a friend that says he's scarred because he brought a log cabin made out of a shoebox. And we built the Taj Mahal. So anyway, all of that was good. And then, so that was kind of that. And then, like I said, went to Bryan Station and graduated and did all that stuff. And, when we had our business, that opened up a lot of world for me. We had the opportunity to travel a lot. I did work in New York, Chicago, different places. Then I had the opportunity to actually work in Asia. I worked for an import manufacturing company. We did seasonal and gift items. So I had things that ended up in mail order catalogs or in different stores, Michael's, Lowe's, whatever, that we had worked on as projects in factories. And like I said, the business was 27 years. And the last 10 years of that was when I was primarily doing all that traveling. So I'll kind of leave it at that, and then I'll go to David's questions. The four things that I was presented with. Two of these kind of go together, and the other two go together. So tell us a particularly difficult period of your life and how faith sustained you, and who is the man who had the most influence on my life, and how so? So, along the way, in all of that, while everything looked really good, it wasn't. I had found myself drinking a lot. And so my last trip to Asia, I ended up in a blackout in a hotel in China with all of my friends that I was working with, and that did not go over very well. And my friend said, you know, I love you, you're my best employee, but I don't know what to do with you. So on the plane all the way home, I basically just prayed and cried. You know, I don't know where to go, I don't know what to do. I had left the church because the church did not seem to work for me. I didn't fit the mold. So I still had that basic dependence on a God, but I had felt pretty forgotten. So as things would have it, in that, when I got home, a lot of things had changed. I was going back and forth so much. I would go to China and work for 2 weeks. I'd be in Lexington for 4 weeks. I'd go back for 6 weeks. I'd come home for 3 weeks. So I was disconnected from everything. When I came home from that trip, I realized how disconnected I was from my relationship and from my business. I had a life partner. We'd been together almost 30 years, and we had the business together. And so I went to my therapist and started, telling her all this, that, and the other, and she said, I think there's a place you need to go and meet some people. So I ended up becoming part of a fellowship of anonymous people. And so they tell you in the when you start doing this to don't make any big decisions, don't change anything, don't try to reinvent anything for at least a year. So I started in November, and I've been able to maintain that sobriety date. It's November 11th, and last year was 14 years. But anyway, in November I started the meetings. In April, everything completely fell apart between business, home life, everything. So that turned into closing and selling everything out of the business, closing and selling everything out of our house. There were some things that had gone on that since I was detached from all of it, not paying attention to, so I was introduced to dealing with the IRS and the Kentucky Revenue Cabinet and a lot of other things. So I had all that, and so we closed the business in August. I started a new job in September. My dad died the last day of October. His sister died the last week of December. She was, I adored her. And my brother died on May the 8th, that next year. He was a genius. He could do anything. He could fix anything. He could figure anything out. I was aggravated with him. He wasn't answering the phone. And I was gonna go over to the house and fuss at him. And the next door neighbor called me and said he had found him on the bathroom floor. He had a heart attack or something. He had everything that was in my mother's family that you could get wrong. Cancer, heart attack, kidney disease, diabetes, all of it. He was only 52. So, in all of that, I had met a man named Stan, and he was my first sponsor. And he was everything to me as far as getting back into a life of faith, spirituality, finding a higher power, just anything to sustain me. Because by the time that happened with Dave, I was afraid to plan anything, I was afraid to go anywhere, I was afraid to do anything, because something's gonna happen. And it was interesting that Stan stood with me the day we buried my brother, and he sat with me the next day when I bought my first house. So he was great. He was very no nonsense. So reminded me of my mother. He was also from Eastern Kentucky, and he would say things to me like, "You just need to give a crap about your life." Like, crap was not the word he used. And he prayed with me constantly, and he helped me with learning more about how to pray. And every time I would go to him with a problem, anytime I was lost in whatever, his first question would always be, "Have you prayed about it?" It would aggravate me to death. Because I just needed an answer. I just needed an answer. So he, I have to say, would be the most important as far as an influence in my life. My dad was a big influence in other ways, but he was very quiet, very shy. But he did the giving and doing things the way you're supposed to. Nobody knew except the person that benefited from it. When he died, people come to me and tell me stories about things he'd done and people he had done things for that I had no idea. yeah, that would be Stan. And then, when you look at the questions, the one thing I'm profoundly grateful to God for, and then David added, why do I believe in God? So, I struggled with this one the most because I have so many things to be grateful for. Because I have to live in gratitude to find peace. I have to live in gratitude to not get caught up in my own head. I have to, whether it's the sun is up or there's a bird singing, I have to be grateful for it. When I was lost in addiction, there is a hell that you can live in. It may not be lakes of fire, but it is a nonstop, dark, empty place that never ends. Every day you think it won't be the same, and it is the exact same way, over and over. They refer to it some as the God-shaped hole that we live with, that we look for. But I found out that God came to me. I was given GOD as the gift of desperation. I had no more plans. I could not figure anything else out. I had nothing else to offer. I had always been a planner. I'd always been a figure-outer. I'd always, made it work. Well, I couldn't do that anymore. I could paint Apollo flying across your dining room ceiling, or monkeys climbing up the walls. I could do all kinds of things, but I could not drink. My day ended every day about 6:30 in the evening, because after that, don't call me, nothing's gonna happen. I'm gone. Checked out until the next day. So anyway, when I met these anonymous people and I was introduced to this gift of desperation and given hope, because when it gets the darkest, there isn't any, you can't find it. And when there's a place that offers it, you try to stay there. Fortunately, I did. I've had friends that were not able to. And I've lost several. But that has to be my most profoundly grateful thing, is my sobriety, because without it, I'm nothing. I lose everything. It all goes away. I have no work, I have no life, I have no partner, I have nothing. And I know that. For me to drink is to die. We're reminded of that in the program. So yeah, so there's that. And why do I believe in God? How can I not? I see him in everything. I see him in you. I hear him in your stories. I found him in church basements and crowded Sunday school rooms, and enjoy your brunch. I see him everywhere. I see him in every flower. I can hear him in a bird song. Paul and I have chickens, and if you've ever candled an egg, 2 days after they lay that egg, you can put it on the flashlight on your phone, and you see these tiny little red threads along the edge of the shell. And just a few days later, there's an eye in there, and then you see a little foot a few days later. And then all of a sudden you can't see anything because they filled it. miracles to me is, there's no, I was someplace one time and I heard a woman say, oh, I don't believe in miracles, there's an explanation for everything. I don't think everything's a miracle. I think the fact that we're here is a miracle. The fact that yesterday when I went out and after all the snow and all the ice, and all the mess and all the frozen, there are little green things coming up in the yard. And they are ready to go. And I find them when we garden, I find them on my hands and knees. It's a posture of prayer, and it's a posture of submitting to the earth, getting your hands dirty, planting a seed, how those little powdery things can be a vegetable or a flower or whatever else. So that was an easy thing for me, was why do I? Because I have to. It keeps me sober. He's shown up to me in so many ways. One of my favorite stories, I'll tell you this and then I'll let you go. When my father had suddenly become end of life, he was 93, he was great, but he had COPD, and so he'd gone to the hospital, and while he was there, my brother and I were rotating. I would stay overnight, and we would go back and forth. He would stay during the day, because I was working, so I would do the night shift. And after my dad was at the point where there was a lot of morphine, and he was basically very quiet, non-responsive. I was sitting in the dark, and the chaplain came in and introduced himself. And he said, I understand by the chart that you all have a church and that you don't need a chaplain, and that you're taken care of. You said you didn't need us. And I said, well, actually, my brother has been taking care of some of that for my dad. I said, so I wasn't aware that that was even an option or talked about. And he said, well, I just wanted to touch base with you. I just wanted to say hello. So he left. And just a couple of minutes later, he came back in and he said, would you mind if I pray with you? I feel like maybe, it's on my heart. And I said, sure, I welcome it. That's fantastic. So we did. I finished my shift, my brother came, I went home, I took a shower, and when I got out, there was a message from my brother that my dad was gone. He shows up everywhere. You just gotta pay attention.